Week 19 Day 1. Trouble in Ruritania. King Andrei of Ruritania was afflicted with megalomania, and the people of his country suffered, as a result. After 10 years of his profligate rule, the treasury was bankrupt, unemployment was rampant, domestic strife was mounting, and the number of the king's opponents who were incarcerated were legion. Following a bloodless coup, his nephew, Prince Shubert, took command of the poor nation. Sample sentences. 1. With a singular disregard for his family, the profligate husband spent his salary on alcohol. 2. Each spouse said that the other was culpable for their conjugal strife. 3. The number of my followers is legion, said the flamboyant politician. 4. The necessity for executing the leaders of the abortive coup was obviated when they committed suicide. 5. Hitler's megalomania was a veneer for his insecurity and feelings of inferiority. Week 19 Day 2. Prince Shubert in action. Prince Schubert's first move was to declare an amnesty for political prisoners and to invite home all Ruritanian expatriates. Those who had been jailed on false charges were exonerated by special tribunals. The young leader announced that he would abrogate all of the oppressive fiats that his predecessor had promulgated. Things began to look up temporarily for the citizens who perceived in Prince Shubert the sincerity, idealism, and honesty that had been lacking in the mendacious King Andrei. Sample sentences. 1. The publisher's mendacious claims led to a myriad of lawsuits. 2. When the jury began to deliberate, they were prepared to exonerate the culprit. 3. The itinerant poet, living abroad for 20 years, was a voluntary expatriate. 4. One cannot govern by fiat. The sedentary mayor quickly learned, it is necessary to get out and meet the citizens if you want their cooperation. 5. We recognize the dictator's amnesty as an obvious feint that would be withdrawn after Christmas. Week 19 Day 3. Reform movement. In order to improve Ruritania's financial position, an astute but parsimonious treasurer was installed and given wide pecuniary powers. He tried to get the little country back on its feet, by slashing all waste from its budget, dismantling King Andrei's sumptuous palaces, and firing all incompetents. In addition, Prince Shubert was able to get the United States to underwrite a substantial loan, that would enable him to start a program of public works. Even so, Ruritania was still in desperate trouble. Sample sentences. 1. I plan to dismantle the stereo set and clean all the components. 2. The sumptuous feast was prepared with impeccable care. 3. Unless my boss modifies his parsimonious attitude, a fractious picket line is going to be erected. 4. Clarence Day deemed that pecuniary matters are best handled by men. 5. When our rivals agreed to underwrite the cost of our trip, a myriad of suspicions began to form in my mind. Week 19 Day 4. Disappointment and dedication. When Prince Shubert asked for additional restrictive measures, the people began to balk. Speaking on radio, the young reformer explained the reasons for higher taxes and food rationing. He was blunt when he stated the need for personal sacrifices. Nevertheless, the resistance to reform was great, and nostalgia for the good old days of King Andrei began to grow. The people admitted that graft and corruption had been rife under Andrei, but at least everybody got his slice of the pie. Although Prince Shubert was tempted to quit, he determined that he would help the people in spite of themselves. Sample sentences. 1. The rebel's innate hatred of restrictive decrees led him to crave freedom all the more. 2. A string of caustic epithets was directed at the recruit by his blunt sergeant. 3. Although the former farm girl pretended to be urbane, a feeling of nostalgia always came over her when she heard country music. 4. Criticism of the author was rife among the coterie of intellectuals who used to praise him. 5. Jimmy was a lawbreaker, but he would balk at the idea of carrying a lethal weapon.